One name that's still kind of up in the air, that's a commitment in Jaden O'Neal. But what's coming up, we'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, the quarterback situation for the Oklahoma Sooners is going to be one of the top storylines to follow over the next 7 months. I don't know if we'll necessarily have a resolution to what direction they're heading. We know Jaden O'Neal, pardon me, excuse me, Jaden and Jaden's family. We know Jaden O'Neal is committed to Oklahoma currently. Mm-hmm. We also know that he's been taking visits elsewhere, Florida State, Georgia. He's being pursued by Auburn as well. I mean, he's a talented quarterback. He's going to get looks from a lot of places. But we also know Ben Arbuckle offered Bowe Bentley, and the Oklahoma Sooners are very high on him as well. They're high on both of these quarterbacks, but they're also high on Bowe Bentley. So Steve Wiltfong of On3, formerly of 247 Sports, just kind of shared some thoughts on this whole situation for Oklahoma last week. And his guess regarding the Oklahoma quarterback situation, Jay, is that Bowe Bentley is a Sooner and Jaden O'Neal is a Seminole. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Wiltfong is throwing out the prediction that he thinks that if there's anybody that's going to flip Jaden O'Neal, it's probably going to be Florida State. Now, granted, he first said that the team that was going to flip Jaden O'Neal was going to be Georgia, and Georgia got that commitment from Jared Curtis, and it doesn't appear that Georgia's interested in taking 2 quarterbacks. So they feel like he's out the game in the same, and then Florida State here. Florida State doesn't have a quarterback in their class. I believe Jaden's one of maybe like 2 they've truly offered. I have to go really dig and see, but it doesn't feel like technically Florida State has really been out there outside of going for Jaden O'Neal. I think that's the one egg in their entire basket, which granted, I totally understand. He is a really good quarterback, and he's the one that, y'all know me, I would like him to be a Sooner, but I know they're putting all their eggs there. Because outside of what probably Landon Duckworth, a recruit that, they did offer, I think he's really the only one that I feel like they probably have a really good chance of going after besides Jaden O'Neal. So for Oklahoma, it's the pickup of Whit Neubauer has made things a little tricky and got people asking questions. Does it make sense to still go for 2 quarterbacks after picking up Whit? And it's funny, I was listening to the Oklahoma breakdown, John, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Teddy and Gay were basically saying that Whit is kind of different as far as quarterback in comparison to the other ones on there. So it's like they're getting a whole bunch of different types of quarterbacks that don't really match the same style. To me, if that's the case, in looking at it, going back and it's like, kind of makes sense. He's a giant quarterback that really kind of stays in the pocket, doesn't really scramble a lot. I mean, he moves around enough, but that reminds me of Jaden. So to me, it's like, feels like they're trying to make sure they have options based upon whatever the SEC gives them. What do you think about that?
I think part of it is Ben Arbuckle sees guys that have traits, and he feels like he can work with a variety of style of quarterback. Mm-hmm. May he have an affinity for guys that are dual threats? Of course, I think every offensive coordinator, if you nailed him down and said, you got to tell me, do you want a pocket passer or a dual threat quarterback? Do you want Donovan McNabb or do you want Michael Vick? I think most would probably say they want a dual threat because of what it does to a defense. It stresses a defense in so many ways. That's not to say that they're not going to take a guy that can stand in the pocket like a Peyton Manning and just dissect things and win with their arm. If you've got a guy with an elite arm and elite processing ability, you're going to take him. You're not going to say, no, I don't like that guy because he can't run very well. No, if he's a good passer, he's a good passer. You're not going to care. But I think what Ben Arbuckle is looking at is he's looking at traits. Like, are these guys, do they have things that can win at this level? Do they have things that can, be used on the football field to make plays and help us win games? in practice, help us win in practice. Are there areas where we think we can develop them further to make them viable options if we need to go that route, or they're able to go and win a job? I think that's what it comes down to. And so when you talk about the Jaden O'Neal, Bowe Bentley piece, okay, Jaden O'Neal might be more Cam Ward, where Bowe Bentley might be more John Mateer. If Oklahoma had Cam Ward or John Mateer as an option, are you going to say no to either? No, you're going to be willing to accept both of those guys and accept them happily.
Yep.
Different style quarterbacks, that's okay. You don't need to have the same style year after year after year after year. A good offensive coordinator, and I believe Ben Arbuckle to be a good offensive coordinator, is able to win with multiple styles of players, whether it's the speedy wide receivers on the outside or the big burly ones that are able to win in possession, or the dual threat quarterback versus the pocket passing quarterback.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So because of that, Oklahoma's now going to have multiple options. So Ben Arbuckle, like you said, he's going to be able to choose, he could pick his poison based upon, like I said, what the SEC is giving him. And so I don't think that the Neubauer pickup really adjusts much, just in my personal opinion. I think it's a situation, we talked about this when he committed, you're not going to have another 2022 season. I mean, I can say this with confidence without anybody having to tell me this. We go into Red River with no quarterback and a tight end and quarterback again. Brent Venables is fired before he even leaves the Cotton Bowl. That's just I'm just keeping it a buck. There's no reason for this team to ever deal with that. And because we've had the opportunity to actually pick up talent and have quarterbacks. I mean, the unfortunate time that one was first year, all the quarterbacks you really want to go after committed elsewhere. Heck, Jackson Dart was one they were trying to get with Dylan Gabriel, but Jackson Dart wanted to go start somewhere, and boom, he went to Ole Miss and immediately became the starting quarterback. So, yeah, you're not going to have that you're not going to get that grace this time around. You can't walk in there. You got to have 4 quarterbacks regardless, just in case. And I know that's probably a Brent Venables call more than anything. So, with that being said, I do still think that Oklahoma's probably going to try to take 2 quarterbacks. I do think that Jaden's going to end up probably at Florida State. I kind of have faith in what Wiltfong is pointing out there. They can use him a lot. And if he makes it there, man, there's a good chance he's going to play very early because he's just that talented.
Yeah, I mean, the buzz at this point, I mean, we're 4 months into when Ben Arbuckle and Oklahoma offered Bowe Bentley. And it just seems like there's just becoming a greater sense that O'Neal won't be a part of this class. And I hate that because he's a good kid and he's a good quarterback and he's a good player. And by all accounts, he's done everything the right way. I mean, he committed to the last offensive coordinator and stayed committed to Oklahoma. He wants to be at Oklahoma.
Yep.
I also don't blame Ben Arbuckle for identifying a guy that he wants to be a part of this recruiting class and a part of Oklahoma's future. It's the unfortunate nature of the business. It really is. But if it all comes down to it and Jaden says, you know what, I still want to go to Oklahoma and Bowe Bentley still wants to come to Oklahoma, I'd be happy to take both. And I think Oklahoma would be as well. And then just let the chips fall as they may over the next several years with quarterback competitions and off-season work and how it all plays out. You never know how it's all going to play out. But yeah, at this point, it would be surprising to see both O'Neal and Bowe Bentley as a part of the class. But man, crazier things have happened in the world of recruiting, and you never know what's going to happen. So, but as we look ahead to the 2025 college football season, one that is a big season for Oklahoma, who are some underclassmen that we should be looking out for that need to have some big summers, but could contribute in a big way in 2025? We'll discuss next, coming up on Locked On Sooners.